Hey, what's up, everybody? BDL44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so the Celtics got the Lakers tonight at home, 122-118 in an overtime game that really thrilled us in moments and ultimately just carved our hearts completely out of our chest once again. I don't really know where to start with this game, but one thing I can say is that we had stretches during this game where we looked like a brilliant basketball team. We looked like the best team in all of basketball for about a good 10 minutes of this basketball game. I'd say somewhere between the end of the third quarter and the good chunk of the fourth quarter, we were awesome. I mean, defensively, we were shutting them down. Offensively, we were taking it to them, getting out in the fast break, doing all kinds of awesome stuff, just making life really nice for Laker fans. And then we kind of took our foot off the gas. It was like we started playing not to lose as opposed to playing to win. And I just think that tone just started with a pensive kind of tightness about us. It's like when you know you're going up against a team that you're not supposed to beat and you have a big lead, but there's too much time left, so you're like, let me just hold on to the basketball. Let me just kind of run the shot clock all the way down and just try to see if I can have the clock be my friend, sort of like we did in other games that we lost. With the Indiana Pacer game, it was the same way. It was like we thought the clock was going to save us. We didn't play no defense, so we just do nothing and hope the clock would do what it does. And it's like, no, Lakers. And this is a Bron thing because he really set the tone for this around the 6-minute mark when we had, I think, given up a 3-point shot, then inbounded the ball, and Marcus Smart took it Alvarado style and laid the ball up. And that's when you knew the Lakers were about to do something bad, because it was like, all right, at this point, the chemistry concerns make teams less confidence as a whole. So what you start doing is playing not to lose, and that's what I saw. LeBron James stopped doing the things that got us going, and I use his name as an example. It was really the whole team, but it was him who was setting the tone for that, because it was actually him who was slowing the ball down. So I was happy with his play. He played great all night, but it was like, it's something to be studied about this game in regards to your approach when you have like a 10-point lead, but you start to feel it slip and it's a lot of time left. You keep doing the things that get you there. What was getting us there was aggressive defense turning into offense in transition. So slowing the pace down takes you out of that opportunity. And so it's like Bron did that. It was him that ultimately took it upon himself to say, okay, things are getting out of hand. We've made a couple bad plays in a row. Let's pull back a little bit and play the clock. You cannot do that against the Boston Celtics. When they're down, because at that point they're thinking, we need to get our urgency going to press forward against this team that we're better than. And they sense blood because you're scared of losing your lead. They can sense the fear in you. And I did too. I'm like, yo, we're scared. We're scared. We see the pressure of beating the Celtics. We know we shouldn't be up this much on this team. We know we have one of the most historic runs we've ever had in the rivalry. I think the run was like 37-4 or something ridiculous that we had. During that chunk, I was telling you we were the best team we could be, and just doing everything we needed to do to make ourselves just impossible to beat. And it was a really impressive night for everybody during that stretch of time too. You got to give credit for Russell Westbrook, who had a night where we saw him block shots, 4 shots, all just fantastic blocks from behind, stuff like that. 14 rebounds, I believe he had, several steals, several buckets as well. 3-point shots were made, but a lot of shots were missing in overtime. Unfortunately, it was him that kind of took the mid-range jumper that basically spiraled us out of control in the overtime. It's just the types of shots we take. That is one of those shots to study for our team, where we look at Russell Westbrook and say, if you ever want to lose, that's the shot you take. If you want to learn how to put yourself in a position to effectively throw a basketball game, that's one of them ones. That's one of those ones. I'm not even mad about it, because like I said, this is a learning experience. I think there's something really to be studied about the momentum in regards to this basketball matchup. Just how you can enforce your will upon an opponent that you're better than when they're not as confident and not playing with all of their people, and how you can immediately become insecure about your position even though you've actually imposed your will. That's exactly what I saw. Guys just started saying, we're not this good, we can't actually beat the Celtics, and then willed themselves toward that loss by turning back into the tendencies that they believe themselves to be. Shooting the ball in overtime from behind the arc all willy-nilly, not guarding people as much and not putting the pressure on them. We talked about them not wanting to get out in the fast break. That's how we were killing them. As soon as we put the afterburners on that team, they were having a lot of trouble stopping us in the paint. We had like 68 points to their 48 in terms of the paints on either side. Like, we were able to score at absolute will. And even though we weren't shooting well from behind the arc, we made enough of them to keep the space necessary to keep us in positions to score on their basically impossible defense. And it got to a point where we had the mental edge, the physical edge, and every bit of the edge. But what we didn't have is the confidence to keep the foot on the gas. And then in overtime, my thing is this. We learned in Philadelphia, overtime is not for us. We're an older team, and we're going to run out of gas. And when we run out of gas, we play into bad tendencies. And then it was one of those situations where it's like, okay, I understand that we didn't sub Lonnie Walker into the game in the last overtime. So inherently, you would want to make up for that mistake. But I think this is a different matchup. And when I looked at Lonnie Walker's overall game tonight, he didn't really have it. He was struggling throughout the whole game. I mean, he started making some things happen. He laid the ball a couple times down the stretch of the game, so I could see where you want to, keep him a part of it. But as it pertains to what, we needed in overtime, it was like we needed the same lineup that we had when things were working. When we were putting ourselves in a position to have that 37-4 run that needed to be on the floor during overtime. And I just felt like, oh boy, Anthony Davis and free throws. I don't want to have to bash him for missing free throws, but it just becomes a situation where it's like, here we go again. We're up by 2. You have a chance to put the game up by 4 with maybe 28 seconds to go, and you miss the free throws, both of them, and they're able to connect on the bucket necessary. I think they hit a 3 in that situation. It's like, Anthony, if you're going to be the number 1 player on this team, bro, and you're going to have these monster games and all of that, it can't come down to you missing clutch baskets at the free throw line. You were 11 of 15 tonight, and the 2 you missed were the 2 you needed not miss. And because of it, we ended up going into an overtime for which we had no gas and lost the game. This is the second time this has happened in 5 games. Bro, we just went through this last week. And you did it to us again against the Celtics. Against the damn Celtics, bro. And it's like, I mean, that's not why we lost. But it is his job to win these games. It's his job to ice these games. And it's not like he's a bad free throw shooter. I'm going to say something, and I'm going to mean it with all my heart and soul. If Bron misses clutch free throws, it makes more sense to me because he's not a good free throw shooter. He's historically like 60-something%. So anytime he go to the line, we're lucky to make him. Anthony? Hell no. He barely misses free throws. I've seen him hit clutch shots. I've seen him do it in our uniform. I've seen him do it in New Orleans uniform. So I don't want to call him somebody who is a choker or can't play under pressure. But there is a free throw demon that he has let creep into his head. And it's cost us 2 basketball games now. Period. That's it. That's the truth. We don't have to like it. We don't have to cuss him out. That is just what the result is of what we've seen here. And I don't want to overthink that at all, especially when we have a championship of credit to us with him being somebody who hit big shots in the series. So I don't want to overthink that. But if we didn't have that championship, if he hadn't already proven that he's a champion already, this would be a thing for real. This would be a thing for real. Because we're talking about how somebody who never misses free throws is bricking the ones that ice the game. This can't keep happening, man. This cannot keep happening. And I give credit to the Celtics. I mean, gosh, man, the numerology in this game is very. I got a lot of colorful words. Some of it's good, some of it's bad, but Jason Tatum had 44 points tonight on BDF 44. He had 24 points at the half. He had 4 and 4 assists, 4 rebounds. It's Kobe Bryant 8. It's just a lot of stuff going on there. It's just like, all right, man. Clearly, there was a lot to this one. This matchup meant a lot. Obviously, we celebrated Bill Russell, of course, with the a video tribute that I was unfortunately not able to see, but was aware it took place. And he won the bet tonight, as I said, between him and Kobe. He got the win tonight, and it was a hard-fought battle for both teams. Jaylen Brown played very well, driving at the basket, doing all types of things, and I think we did a pretty decent job on him, to be honest with you, with the guys who were throwing at him. I saw good sequences from Troy Brown, a bit faster on his feet, you know what I mean, and Austin Reeves made some fantastic plays. As I said, Russell Westbrook had a phenomenal statistical game. Even though he had some bad shots, he had some good ones too. And ultimately, I thought it was his competitive energy that kept us, going in that first half when we were really struggling, and ultimately kind of pressed forward and really took it to them to give us that big, huge run. And I just think repeatedly getting to him and having him intently be a part of action plays can be a good thing. Now, one thing that's going to haunt us tonight when we look at this film here is the missed layups. The Lakers missed a multitude of empty buckets in the paint that we would love to have back. Some of them on calls that we ultimately got to the line for, which was really, really something that worked in our favor tonight. But others that we just missed just because we miss them. I mean, at the end of the day, we just got to connect on every layup we attempt, if at all possible, and so not wait for the referees to try to bail us out in those situations, because 9 out of 10 times they're not looking to. But they did get us to the line twice as much as the Celtics tonight, and I'm pretty sure Celtics fans are not going to be happy about that, even though they got the win. But it's one of those situations where Anthony Davis was very much intent on getting the ball in the paint, and as a result, they kept fouling, and we got to the line a lot, and so I was very happy about that from our end, but we weren't able to take advantage of it when it mattered the most, and that's something that is getting very old to talk about. So it's one of those things, man. We lose to the Boston Celtics in this fashion, and you understand that there's a lot to like about it, but you also understand that as a whole, if you zoom out, this team just doesn't really know how to win, man. And this is one of those situations where I always say this. Some of the best stars in the world, some of them are very, very good at the mechanical things on the basketball floor. They have good feel for the game and things like that. But as it pertains to having the mental fortitude to take on the pressures of certain circumstances, or being able to remain focused when the pressure's on the line, or when they're going up against certain opponents, sometimes guys clam up. Sometimes players that you expect to be able to really, really understand what it takes to keep that momentum do things that just honestly play against your team in those moments and take that momentum from you. And that's what I saw in little various ways tonight from Russell Westbrook and LeBron James, particularly. For all of the good things that they did tonight, it was little things that they did that ultimately sealed the win for the Celtics. In Russell Westbrook's case, just taking bad shots in times where we really needed them not to, turning the ball over in certain situations, not too many, but the wrong ones, And then Bron, just the overall approach as the game closed. It's just about approach. It had nothing to do with how we were shooting the ball. It had nothing to do with anything other than pace and what your intentions are with your possessions as the last minutes of the game are closing. Are you looking to play to win, or are you looking to protect yourself from losing? And it's in protecting yourself from losing, you do understand that you're initiating and losing energy. That's losing stuff, because you're not taking it to the opponent. And I just felt like he'll see that. He'll see that in the film. That's exactly what happened. Around the 6-minute mark, we had made a few mistakes, and the overall lack of trust and chemistry reared its ugly head again. And it let the Celtics have just enough room to come back and get at us, and we did just enough doubting and clamming up and being scared to lose the game like a bad team does, man. We're just going to have to, one or two things. Obviously, we do need to make a trade, but even if we don't make a trade, the character of this team is going to have to learn how to further trust themselves. You can't just play 42 minutes of basketball and then clam up in the last 6 and think you're going to win. especially against a team like the Boston Celtics, who just lost in this building. They ain't trying to lose in this building again. Least of all to the likes of us. And it's like Jason Tatum was going out here making a statement left and right, doing everything he could to solidify himself as a superstar. And it's like, you let him do it. He got a prime victory on the Laker floor where he should be looking at the stats and saying, how the hell did the Lakers go on such a run like that? Ain't nobody even going to remember that run. And it was one of the best runs probably ever put together in the rivalry. Literally. It was historic. And we still lost. And it's just because, honestly, this is a losing team, man. It is. For all that they do and the effort. It's one of those things where it's like when you put a lot of effort in. I talk about Thomas Bryant putting out a lot of effort, a lot of energy. But it doesn't sometimes come to anything on the defensive end. It's like he's just doing a lot of pushing around, shoving around, but it doesn't really turn to nothing. That's kind of a metaphor for how our team operates sometimes. It's like we're doing a lot of energy, putting a lot of effort into playing well for good portions of the game. We got good lineups on the floor. It's a lot going on, and then we get to a point where we just start looking at each other and say, I don't really believe in you like that. You don't really believe in me, do you? Nah. So when the pressure comes, it's like, let me protect against the mistakes that my next guy's going to make. Let me make sure that we just play the clock, because any moment now, one of these dudes going to make another mistake and it's going to go left. And that coerces you into just basically making mistakes. And you can read it on the floor as a fan. Like, you can literally see him do it tonight. And I do believe that's ultimately what catered to the loss, man. You going up against some real killers over there. Marcus Smart, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. They ain't playing around with you. Grant Williams, they've already been to the finals last year. They got their heart broken. And then on this same road trip, they got embarrassed by that same team. Like, they haven't even won a game since that. Then they've turned around and ran the Kawhi. He did the Kawhi thing, and now they run to us, and we do what we do, but not quite finishing the job just like we've been prone to do. Ask the Indiana Pacers. Ask the Philadelphia 76ers. The Lakers going to give you a game. They're going to play well. But when it matters most, they just going to give it right to you because they don't believe in themselves. They scared. They scared of failing. They scared of each other. They scared of us. They scared of everybody. And that's what it looked like to me. It was a team that had a lot of fight. A team that played very well. But a team that was just scared at the end. They were scared, bro. They choked because of it, honestly. I just saw a fearful bunch of guys that just didn't believe they were going to win the game. And because of it, we didn't. Even though it was every opportunity for us to do so. The Boston Celtics were just as scared as we were. Especially when we were going on that run. They looked discombobulated, unforced turnovers. That team wasn't even really good for a good portion of that game. They weren't, let alone a contender. Jason Tatum was amazing. But they had their moments where they just wasn't doing nothing. And we were able to enforce our will, get our ball to players that we wanted to get it to, and ultimately score on them at will. It's like you're doing all of that. When you're doing all of that, you believe you can get it done, right? And so why can't you continue that as the game closes? Because that's the very thing that the Celtics couldn't stop. But for whatever reason, it's like guys don't want to take the win. The guys ain't killers like that. That's what I was trying to say. Like that, Kobe was a killer, man. He's going to take that win. I'm going to do things and make you feel bad. So therefore, when those moments, when it's like 4 minutes to go, we're up by 8, I'm not putting my foot off the gas. I'm not slowing the pace down, trying to see if I can let the clock run down. You know what I saw in those situations? The defense of the Boston Celtics set up, getting more keen on how they can steal the ball from these lesser guys that they're better than, since they want to slow down and let us set up, since we're not, as if we're not the best defense last year. We literally let them slow us down without actually them forcing us to do so. When it was fast-paced, that was ultimately getting us that lead. And we started smiling. We had like a 13-point lead with 7 or 8 minutes to go. We had really pushed the Celtics to the limit at that point, and guys were smiling and laughing. And that's when that little 3-point shot and then the inbound happened. And I had said right before that, it's too much time left for us to be laughing and thinking we didn't won. We haven't won anything. We're a bad team. We're a bad team, and this is why. Because guys don't understand the concept of what it takes to actually win. They just be celebrating stuff that don't actually lead to wins. I mean, I see it all the time. Russell Westbrook be clapping. We up by 13 with like 7 minutes to go. He smiling. Bro, that ain't no win. This game's still going. And then you look up, fast forward to overtime. He's shooting a mid-range jumper with like 17 seconds to go in overtime, we didn't brick 2 shots in a row and we're down by 3 at that point or something like that. It's like, brother, do you know how to win? Because that's a losing play, and that was something that you do when you don't know how to win. Those two things that I just described are like things that it just completely betrays what it is that you're doing, man. For all the good energy you put in, 14 rebounds, 20-something points, 4 blocks, 2 steals, and a couple plays that ultimately put us in a position to where we couldn't recover. You did it all, the good and the bad. It's like, come on, man. Are we helping ourselves, or are we just sitting here strolling around in circles? Because that's what it looked like to me. We're on a hamster wheel. The team can never get above. As soon as we take 1 step forward, it's like 3 steps back with this bunch. Now I look at AD and Bron, they put up monster numbers. I look at Austin Reeves, he had monster plus minus. You know what I'm saying? But I look at a team that through 3 quarters believed in itself, 3.5 quarters believed in itself, and for the final minutes of the game just said, you know what? This team is too hard to beat, despite us being up by 8. That's what I saw. The Celtics are just too hard to beat. We can't beat them. Look at Jason Tatum. He's going to take this game from us. Let me slow this ball down. Try to get a last-second shot, shooting threes from way off. But Russell Westbrook, they leave him open for a 3-point shot, bro. They left you open for a reason. He shouldn't be on the floor, coach. That's another thing. Darvin Ham needs a lot of credit for what went wrong down there. I hate to say it, but his rotations, once again, 19 minutes for Dennis Schroeder, 19 minutes for Patrick Beverley. I like that he cut their minutes down. That's a sad thing for me to say, since they had 20 minutes, and I don't want them to get that many minutes in a game like this when we have that many size disadvantage situations. Why the hell are they on the floor? They ain't even that much, given what it is they gave us. We should have been going big the whole time, and you know what was catering to our success when we were on that run is nobody on that floor was short. Nobody. We had Troy Brown, Austin Reeves, LeBron James, Russell Westbrook, Anthony Davis on the floor. Plenty enough size to give us opportunities to match up with a Boston Celtics team who's just as tall, with Blake Griffin playing center. You can get away with that. That's why we were able to do what we did in getting that game as we did, as close as we did, and getting the lead as we did. But again, playing not to lose. Playing pensive, playing fearful, looking at the clock saying it's going to save me because I know I can't, my energy ain't going to get it done. My effort that's brought me here doing those things ain't going to get it done. It's like, where did doubt come from? I know where it comes from. It comes from the belief that you're a loser. You have to inherently believe you're a loser. You take on those losses. You bring forth that loss by way of things that you do. And I'm telling you, that's LeBron James. I don't know if he's mastered the understanding of this yet, but it's in him. He be losing because he be doing loser stuff. It ain't because he ain't good enough to win. It ain't because the team ain't good enough. It ain't none of that. It's because he, with the choices that he made down the stretch of the game, initiated loser energy. I kid you not. And he had a great game. He had a great game. He really did. Shot the ball well. Drived at the ball well. I was happy with him. Throughout most of the game, I was praising him. But I just understood when the shift took place. I just understood when the doubts kicked in. I understood when he started getting scared. I understood when he started understanding he was involved in a Laker-Celtics rivalry game. And it was incumbent upon him to win it. And guys around him weren't quite good enough. I could see the aura of that energy there. And I'm just like, brother, that doubt is initiated just like any other win is initiated. Just when focus is initiated, when one has confidence, that is initiated, so is that doubt that is also deliberately initiated. And one has to just master that so they can get that loser crap out of their lives. Kid you not. For guys that great, that's exactly what it is. It ain't in the X's and O's. It's in the understanding of who you are and what it is you're doing and what it is you should be doing based on the circumstances in front of you. And the Celtics needed to be attacked. Simple as that. They needed to be attacked to be defeated in that situation. He pulled back. Simple as that. Kobe hour. I salute Kobe, of course. You know, obviously it's the Kobe minute. We call it the hour. I switch up, but nevertheless, it's the minute, and we do acknowledge Kobe Bryant, of course, in our Celtic-Laker rivalry. We lost one to the Celtics. We beat the Celtics. You know, it is what it is. They've gotten their chunk of flesh out of us. It's just another regular season game. but it is one that we will not soon forget because we had an opportunity to win it, and Anthony Davis just could not close the free throws to seal it, and as a result, things transpired, and we ended up losing. We ended up losing a very winnable game at home when we don't have many of those right now. We got 2 more games at home, one against, I believe, the Wizards, and the other is, I think, Phoenix. I'm not sure who we play next. But after that, we'll be going on another road trip in the Eastern Conference. We'll be seeing everybody we basically didn't see on this road trip. So tired legs often hurt us tonight. I'm sitting here frustrated because I really think this team needs Wenyen Gabriel back, and I'm wondering how that shoulder's doing. Does it need surgery? He's a young guy. How bad is the dang injury, man? Because this team is not getting it done without him. Clearly, we ain't won a game since he left, with the exception of the Detroit game, which is a little, that team didn't really want to win anyway. So it's one of those situations where it's like, until we can bring his piece back, and I assure you we would have won tonight's game if he was down there. If we cannot find a way to duplicate that piece, we're not a real contender, as I said in the video earlier. Tonight was a measuring stick for what we can do and what we cannot do. And even though we had good times against this team, we also understand both of their centers were out. Both of them. And so that's really what it comes down to. If Time Lord was down there and Al Horford was down there, this game was over early. And so it's not like we really flexed against this team, even though we had our moments. We had our moments, but we didn't seal the deal. And for that to be, something that we can talk about as a means of attachments to this rivalry, it just makes it worse. As I said, this game was a legacy game for this core. Anytime they see the Boston Celtics, especially at home, you're expected to win. You don't want to get blown out. We definitely didn't get blown out. But what you don't want to do is have a game be memorable because you choked it away. And unfortunately, my friends, that is exactly what this basketball game was. The Los Angeles Lakers, for all intent and purposes, multiple players as a collective unit, choked this basketball game away. The very definition of it. They clammed up when they had the lead, played scared, and lost. My name is BDF44. I thank you all for watching, and I'm out.